guard stationed at a secret government prison. Despite the morbid scene unfolding in front of us, Sandy shared a laugh with me. We were at the point where the absolute absurdity and danger of the situation was beginning to fade from our senses. Hell, I suppose we were enjoying ourselves, as ducked up as that may sound. We kept watching as Senju got up and stumbled around, evidently disoriented from both his injuries and successive fits of fighting spirit-induced rage euphoria. He took about 4 steps before his head exploded, throwing the two of us watching for quite the loop. Another figure stepped into the frame, whom we recognized as Satan Bot, 6'11", 211 centimeters, 535 pounds, 243 kilograms. I felt a shiver crawl down my spine upon seeing him, somewhat snapping me back into reality. Despite his comical name, Satan Bot had to be one of the most frightening voids out there. I just couldn't understand what the duck he was supposed to be. His body appeared to be robotic, but moved in ways that were too fluid for even the most sophisticated android. Like legitimate metallic flesh. It was honestly maddening to look at. On top of that, he resembled the effing devil himself. Reddish-black scaly skin/metallic shell, a mouth full of exposed, razor-like teeth, rectangular, slanted crimson eyes, a pair of large, mechanical wings, and a long tail ending in something that resembled a 3-pronged spear to boot. For whatever reason, he also had a rocket launcher atop his right shoulder and a Gatling gun connected to his left hand. No, these were not mechanical modifications. They were literally connected to his body. He was unanimously considered one of the most dangerous voids residing in the chasm, rated at a high earthquake. Even if Senju was at his full strength, he wouldn't have stood a chance. Oh poop, Sandy commented. I was hoping he didn't escape. Well, let's not worry about him for now, I said, turning my attention to another monitor. What my eyes landed on next was an utter massacre. Sitting atop a pile of guard bodies that must have eclipsed 6 feet was Hugo Wright, aka the Brutal Bishop, 6'2", 189 centimeters, 200 pounds, 91 kilograms. As his name indicated, he was dressed in a traditional vicar priest outfit. The only difference was the fact that the cross he wore around his neck was fashioned out of blades. The man himself had long, sweeping black hair and about 14 bags under both of his dead, blue eyes. It was unclear to us what his real motivations were. It's not like he followed the rules of any religion on Earth, despite his outfit. He just went on long rants about the sin of natalism and the futility of existence, and how to reach a state of sanctity. We must first reach a clean state. Basically, he wanted to unalive every sentient being on Earth, and then himself. He wasn't all talk, either. He was certainly strong. We rated him as a low hurricane. After praying to whatever ducked-up deity he worshipped atop his pile of corpses, he slid down and began stalking the corridors for some more victims to fulfill his holy objective. Who he came across next couldn't have been more perfect. Kale Silva, aka Vampire Cop, 5'9", 175 centimeters, 176 pounds, 80 kilograms. Kale was rather interesting, being that he was one of the most cooperative voids. He was the only prisoner that willingly turned himself in. His backstory was interesting as well, and of the few we knew about. He used to be a prolific, merciless Brazilian cop who patrolled the most dangerous parts of Rio. It was so much so that he earned a reputation amongst the criminal underground as the Reaper. But he was still only human. During one fateful mission, his entire unit was massacred during an ambush attack by about a dozen distinct gangs who were all unified under the same goal of taking him down. He was the only survivor but was captured in the process. After being brutally tortured in a warehouse for about 5 hours, the lights suddenly went out. During this period of darkness, the only sounds entering his ears were those of carnage. Every single gang member was being obliterated by some unknown force. At the end of the bloodbath, he could hear footsteps slowly approaching him, before a deep, raspy voice whispered something into his ear. There's potential in you. Allow me to bestow you with an opportunity. He felt a sharp pain hit his neck before the hidden entity spoke to him again. Fulfill your duty. And then he passed out. When he woke up, he found himself in his bed, with all the wounds from his torture session just about healed. All wounds except for one, a bite mark on his neck. His appearance had also changed drastically. Pale skin, dark eyes, and fangs. He'd heard about the stories, but could hardly comprehend that he'd become one himself. While he couldn't handle being exposed to the sun anymore, he found himself with superhuman strength and regeneration, which he used to brutalize criminals at night as a vigilante. However, it didn't take long for him to go too far. One night, he went into a frenzy, breaking into the house of a suspected rapist and unaliving everybody inside. Everybody including the rapist's innocent mother and daughter. His resolve in regard to justice had never wavered, remaining strong no matter what he went through. For that reason, he could hardly live with guilt on his conscience and walked to the police station he used to work at, turning himself into his former colleagues that all thought he was dead. Of course, the news spread quickly. That's when the CIA stepped in and transferred him over to the chasm. He put up no resistance. He deemed the chasm a place where he 100% belonged. Safe to say, he was a rather bizarre case. We still put him in a low hurricane, the same as Hugo. On the monitor, I could see Kale's lips moving. Wanting to hear what he had to say, I began looking around to see if I could get some audio. It didn't take too long for me to find the volume control panel, which was located right under the middle desk. Thankfully, whoever set this weird place up took the liberty of labeling each switch with its respective monitor. I turned the volume up right in the middle of Kale's spiel. Dangerous scum. I'm gonna have to dispose of you all before it's too late. Hugo's face remained expressionless. Scum. An apt description of the ones residing in this place. But I understand that you're also a man wrought with unforgivable sin. I'll treat you no differently. He responded. Kale chuckled. Wouldn't expect you not to. He took a provocative fighting stance. Come on, Englishman. Let's settle this. Hugo put a hand on his blade cross, before muttering another prayer to himself. He looked up at Kale, his eyes now a deep crimson. The atrocities I commit are only in the pursuit of ultimate holiness. I hope you can understand that. Kale grinned. Yeah, I get it. Crazy people are crazy. As he finished the sentence, he rushed forward in a quick blur, sinking his fangs into Hugo's neck. In turn, Hugo grabbed Kale's head and twisted, snapping his neck in what had to be the most gruesome manner feasible, before plunging a fist into his chest. For the first time, Hugo grimaced. "What's wrong with your heart?" he asked, before retracting his hand, revealing severe burn marks. Kale twisted his head back into place before shooting Hugo a bloody grin. "I couldn't tell you, buddy." They traded blows for a few more minutes, pummeling each other into oblivion. While Kale was certainly more skilled and had more tools at his disposal, Hugo possessed more raw power. Eventually, it came to a standstill. Kale had suffered upwards of 20 fatal injuries, forcing his regeneration abilities to the brink. Hugo was bleeding all over, had about 6 bone fractures, an eye gouged out, and an ear ripped off. "You're pretty effing annoying, aren't you?" Kale rasped out. Hugo bent over, coughing up a mouthful of blood. Likewise. In the meantime, their confrontation had drawn an audience. Coming in from an intersecting corridor was Infernal Gladiator, 6'7", 200 centimeters, 285 pounds, 129 kilograms. He was a high hurricane. Imagine an extremely buff zombie that was perpetually burning, clad in ancient gladiator gear. That was him. In one of his hands, he gripped a gigantic, flaming sword. In his other, he held 2 leashes, both holding respective voids at the neck, crawling at his feet like dogs straight from hell. One was the Freak, 6'10", 208 centimeters, 253 pounds, 115 kilograms, a slouching, a humanoid monster with strange, flickering eyes and a grin that wrapped around its entire head. The other was the Humanish Centipede, 6'4", 193 centimeters, standing height, 372 pounds, 169 kilograms, a centipede-like creature that had a vaguely human face covered in 6 eyes, with an iron muzzle obscuring the mouth area. It crawled on 10 colossal, veiny arms. They were both mid-tornado tier, not incredibly powerful. They were merely simple, aggressive beasts that possessed nothing but primal bloodlust and strength that was comparable to 3 wild bears put together. For that reason, they were easily converted into disposable weapons by the much stronger and more intelligent gladiators. "Effing hell," Kale said upon seeing the trio. "That's effing disgusting." "Bloody abominations," Hugo added. "Nothing but creatures that stain this earth." They both looked at each other and nodded, an explicit sense of mutual understanding between them. "I suppose that a few of the voids teaming up should have been inevitable." "Oh boy, this is heating up," I said, turning towards Sandu. He didn't respond at first, instead looking as if he were trying to focus on something that wasn't on the screen. "What the hell's the matter?" I asked him. "I think there might be somebody else in here. Don't turn around. Just keep watching. Pretend like you didn't hear it." He replied, hardly above a whisper. It's not like I had to pretend. "Hear what?" I thought to myself. Nevertheless, I never sounded more serious. I turned my attention back to the monitors while forcing my ears to be alert. About 10 seconds later, I heard it. It was soft for sure. I wasn't surprised that I hadn't noticed it up until that point. Somewhere in the darkness behind us, somebody was trying to contain a giggle.